So you have essentialist identity. Identity is a core aspect of self, innate in you. It is your fundamental unit. Then you have a kind of development from that which says, no, hang a minute, you're not just fundamentally you. There's something in there, but that changes and is moulded through time with experience, and pressures from outside can change it so that there is like a you that you could become, but there's also the you that you probably are, which is that still essential innate component, but it's not necessarily the you that you end up as being, because it could end up being mushed in different ways. And that those two versions of identity see it as something that's inside you from the start. And there's another version that is a structuralist one, where they say no, identity is not something that you are inside, it's something that you're made from the outside. So the society that you grow up in, the family that you grow up in, all these pressures, and they all sort of shape you from the outside, so that what you fundamentally are is a result of all these impacts from this pressure and power structures around you. And then there's people who say, no, it's not any of those things. Identity is a performance that you give in order to gain access to a social space. So if you think about how you behave when you're with your grandma compared to how you behave when you're with your friends, you are putting on a performance of identity, you are performing identity, and if you perform correctly, then you get access to the social space. So it's not a thing that's inside you, it's not a thing imposed from out you, it's a thing that you do. It's an action. Identity is an action. And then there's people that go, no. Identity isn't, what identity is, the meaning of identity isn't held in what we are or what we do. It's held in the meanings that we share. So for example, having black skin could be considered an identity, but the meaning of having black skin isn't found in the colour of your skin. It's found in what blackness means in the society in which you're a part. So although there are aspects of your identity that are sort of physical or biological or have been built, they're not the significant part of identity. The significant part of identity is the meaning, and meaning is held between people. So identity happens within the discursive space, within these conversations between people. And then I get into problems because obviously the people that I'm working with don't use words, so I have to you can still have conversations, it's fine. You can still have meaning shared between people. And then you have people who go, hang on a minute, everything we've been doing so far has been based on assumptions. Like if we assume that there's an innate substance, then all our work goes on to establish that there is an innate substance. Or if we assume that there's a performance, then of course we find performance when we look at it. And so what we should be trying to do is offering up a kind of model of identity that correlates with experience. And instead of asking what identity is or why it is, how did I get to be like this, we should ask when it happens and where it happens. And we recognise that much of what's happened before has been constitutively determined, as in it's been decided by the assumptions that we have. And so we should recognise those assumptions and question them. So maybe it's not innate in a person. Maybe the person shouldn't be the object of study. Maybe it's not a formation process. So maybe society shouldn't be the unit of study. Maybe it's found between people, or maybe it's not. Maybe language is the location of identity. Maybe it's not. Maybe identity itself isn't the meaningful thing. Maybe it's where identities cross over that's the meaningful thing, or maybe something else is the meaningful thing. And so people are questioning whether the person is the object of study, whether society is the object of study, whether there are stories that haven't been told, whether the dualisms of mind and body, self and world count, whether identity is a permanent thing. Is it always there, or is it transitory? And they also question whether identity is only of interest if you think in a westernised way, which is a really fascinating one. So those people operating within these beyond conceptualisations of identity acknowledge that things and processes can be otherwise, and recognise that where objects and processes exist, they can be fluid and in flux and subject to change. And so basically, if you don't make any assumptions, It's very difficult to put your finger on anything tangible, and even trickier to write a 35,000 word document about it.